Think about what happened in South Africa just a few years ago. Nigerians and Zimbabweans and the Congolese were attacked and beaten and driven out by their fellow black South Africans. Why? Because they were seen as outsiders, as foreigners who didn't belong. They accused them of taking resources and stealing jobs and flooding the market. And so the so called Pan African unity collapsed into violence and bloodshed. And these were Africans in Africa. Or what about Rwanda? When you had two African groups, the Hutu and the Tutsi, they descended into one of the most horrific genocides in modern history. Over 800,000 people unalive, not by European colonizers, but by their own fellow black people, neighbors. They saw them as the other. You think they won't turn that same tribal lens against you if they get power over here? They're already doing it. And we make money, more money than them, and we outnumber them. You think your black skin, they don't even think you're black. Not black like them. But do you think your black skin protects you from that mindset? You need to wake up. And this is why when you try to unify, when you talk about global black solidarity, it falls flat. Because you're trying to build bridges with people who were never taught to love you. You're trying to link arms with those who see you as see your citizenship as arrogance and your existence as entitlement and your history as inconvenient. And that's the bitter truth. My dear foundational Black American brothers and sisters, you are hated not because you failed, but because you survived and because you succeeded. Because in spite of slavery, in spite of Jim Crow, in spite of redlining and COINTELPRO and mass incarceration and systematic sabotage, you are still here. And you are still proud. And you are still successful. And more importantly, you are still American. And that infuriates them. They don't want to unify. They don't want to unify with you. They want to replace you. They want the spoils of your struggle without your scars. They want access to your achievements while ridiculing your ancestors. And when you delineate and when you say we are not the same, suddenly you're divisive. No, what's divisive is their silent contempt. What's divisive is the way they cluster in corners and speak in their native tongues, marking your dialect and undermining your experience as if they weren't in this country because you made it livable. See, FBA have the wisdom to know something deeper. We can work with white folk. We can build with white folk. Okay? We can even live around white folk, but we can't fully trust them. Because at the end of the day, we've been tied together in blood, war, and labor and in politics for 400 plus years. There's a brutal familiarity that we have with white people. And we know what to expect. But when these African immigrants come over here, there's no familiarity, no shared trauma, no mutual understanding, just smiles covering jealousy and accents cover contempt. And the quiet war being waged against your legitimacy in your own country. So what do? We delineate. We draw the line and say, you are not us. You can be a guest in this house, but you will never own it. We earn the deed with our bodies and our blood and our brilliance. We separate, we stand apart, we stand tall. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, what we've just witnessed in this broadcast is a necessary, long overdue reckoning, a confrontation with the uncomfortable but undeniable truth. Foundational Black Americans are under siege, not just by usual forces of white supremacy, but by those who come with familiar skin and foreign intentions. We are now facing a crisis where our culture, our legacy, and our hard-won political ground are being culturally hijacked by Black immigrants, both from Africa and from the Caribbean. Individuals who too often do not share our lineage or our historical struggle or our sense of duty to protect what we've built in this country. And we must ask the hard questions. Why do so many come here not to collaborate, but to consume, compete, and ultimately replace? We're seeing the effects everywhere, from media outlets like Essence and the Shade Room, which no longer reflect our voices or our values, to cultural spaces and economic platforms that were carved out by our blood, only to be bought out and rebranded by those who contributed little to their foundation. This is more than just disrespect. It's cultural colonization. Pan-Africanism was once a powerful idea rooted in global Black unity. And now it's just some sort of faith-based fantasy. It's a religious-like worship. It's a idealization of Africa. But we not gonna hold Africa accountable for what it's done to us? It's a one-way street. It's symbolism. It's a sacrifice that flows one way. It left us politically stagnant and culturally exposed. And the diaspora wars and xenophobia versus accountability, we need to clarify what that is. I'm not xenophobic. I'm not being petty. This is a strategic boundary setting. I love my people. I love my foundational Black American people, and you all are trying to take advantage of us. And I have children who are foundational Black Americans. So when I say FBA first, we're not being divisive, we're being honest. We've spent decades fighting in this country only to be told by newcomers that we're too emotional and lazy and too ungrateful for opportunity we allowed them to exploit. And then after they receive the benefits of the movement, they separate themselves from us. That's when the flags come out. They're not Black like us. That's not unity. Again, that's opportunism. And if pointing that out makes people uncomfortable, so what? Let's not stop there. We also have to look in the mirror. Much of the degradation of Black American culture, particularly through some of this media and this buffoonery, is self-inflicted. Too many of us have not stamped out the dysfunction that's in our own houses and communities. We support the very media that degrades us. Now, given many of these rappers who come out of the Caribbean, Uncle Luke, Nicki Minaj, Lil Kim, Biggie Smalls, all of these people with this degenerate rap, we listened to it, we consumed it. But still, had we been gatekeeping and doing a better job, hip hop might have been the thing it was set out to be. Another uncomfortable truth, my brothers, step to the front of the room. Brothers, Black masculinity is in crisis. I go a long way every day. I put videos up of me boxing, and I put videos up of me playing with my kids, whether it's on Instagram. I'm messing up the algorithm. I should be putting all this stuff up, but I put videos up of me interacting with my sons and doing manly things, whether it's washing the cars or hunting or boxing or doing jujitsu or wrestling. Because we need to step up as men and be masculine men, whether you single or married or whatever. Too many men, too many Black men are taking a back seat. You're silent in your homes. You're passive in the communities. You're invisible in the media. We've allowed all this femininity and this chaos to dominate our discourse, while men who try to lead are shouted down, ashamed into submission, oftentimes under threat by other men. We got grown men out here wearing fingernail polish and calling it freedom. while our sons are being buried in droves and daughters are being left unprotected in Chicago and every city around the world. In America, it's time for black men to stand up, brothers. You got to stand up. You got to speak. Look at me. You're not going to ever find another lawyer like me to put this out on the line. Every night I'm here. Every night I'm putting up something. I've had people write the Bar Association on me. I've had folk call the FBI on me. I threatened to sue the FBI, made them back down too. That's something else I did. I'm not going to stop talking to my people and trying to uplift my people and get us to head back to the direction that we need to head back to. But I need some help. And I can't depend on these women. They've had the microphone for 6 years. It's time for black men to stand up, to speak up, and lead with strength, discipline, clarity, and morality. Not emotion, not aesthetics, but strength. And so I challenge black men in particular to reclaim leadership within your family and your communities. I challenge you to begin to make your image more appealing. I know what you're doing. You're some of the greatest fathers in America. You're some of the most involved fathers in America. You're the hardest working men in America. But we're going to win on the optics. A great man said that. Shout out to the late, great Kevin Samuels. We're going to win on the optics and the emotion. So you need to be seen doing the things that men do. This effeminized behavior, this lack of discipline, and the failure to model integrity. We're not giving direction to the future generations, the same things you didn't get. See, legacy is what this really about. We're watching Black America and our culture be erased in real time. Not just through whitewashed school books and sanitized museum exhibits, but through our own complacency and silence. Shout out to Kareem Sharif. It's being replaced by hood culture, by shock culture, by a version of blackness that is loud but hollow, flashy but forgettable. We're trading our great, decent legacy, our moral legacy, for likes and our dignity for digital applause. And finally, we need to start building. We need to not let disrespect go unchecked. You can't just feel empowered to build power. We need to do the same as everybody else in every other group. You want to be respected globally? We need to respect ourselves locally. We cannot outsource our liberation and our legacy. We need to reclaim our image, rebuild our institutions, and regain control over what it means to be Black men and Black women in America. So no, this isn't about isolation. This isn't about insulation. This isn't about divisiveness. It's about protecting what's ours from being diluted and distorted and destroyed. If you come in peace, shout out to all the African brothers and sisters and Caribbean brothers and sisters who come in peace with respect, we will build with you. But if you come to extract, exploit, or erase, then you're part of the problem. And as for us, my foundational Black American brothers and sisters, it's time to draw a hard line in the sand and say with one unified voice, we are not your stepping stones. We are not your entry pass. We are not going to sit quietly while our legacy is co-opted and erased. From here on out, we're moving with strategy and sentiment. We're done performing unity while being disrespected. We are done carrying the emotional baggage of the diaspora while neglecting our own house. And if you're not building with us, you will not benefit from us. Let that be the final word, and let it echo across the generation and the next and the next and the next. We are foundational Black Americans, and we will not be erased.